I started the day, I was at home. I was with my 4-month-old daughter and listening to NPR and heard the report of the first plane, turned on the TV, and then, like everyone else, was glued to it. I didn't teach until noon that day, and so as I was thinking about, as I was watching all this, I'm thinking about, I have to go teach class. What am I going to do? And so I went to class, and we had a big screen in there, and we could put the TV through a projector. And so I just let them watch, because that's what they were thinking about. There was no way I was going to kind of just walk in and start lecturing about something other than 9/11. And so we watched, and I just let them, I told them, if you have questions, I will do my best to answer them. I'm a military historian, so this kind of intersected with some of my expertise, and also in foreign policy. And so we watched. The class I was teaching was America and the World Wars, and we were just going to start talking about America's mobilization for World War I in 1917. And so at the end of class, I started to talk about the parallels that we were now going to witness, not only talk about the history of 1917 and mobilizing a nation for war, but we also now were going to watch in real time the nation mobilize for war. I was pretty sure we were going to go to war somewhere, probably Afghanistan, and that these kids were of that age that they might be called to serve. And they were well aware of that in the class. They were, especially the young men, were a little bit, they'd ask questions about, is there going to be a war? Will there be a draft? And I said, I don't know. It depends. So it was a rather interesting conversation that we continued to have as we moved along, but it was not a lot of teaching got done, but I think we all shared that experience, which I would, for them and for me, it was kind of nice to be together to be able to talk about it and think about it, and maybe come to some resolution that maybe things were going to be okay.
In subsequent years, did you see some parallels?
I did. When we looked at the build-up for the war in Afghanistan and then later the one in Iraq, one of the things we talked about in the course that I was teaching as we geared up for war, that when the United States went to war, that there's always an immediate agenda, and in this case it was to get rid of al-Qaeda, to take out the bases and Osama bin Laden, but then there would always be something that would follow that. And in the case of World War I, it was making the world safe for democracy. And so I kind of figured that we would probably think about doing something that would maybe reshape the region, that we would make a go at that. And we did. And so now I see in history American efforts to try to rebuild someplace beyond our shores has been a troublesome thing for us. And I think this kind of bears that out. And I think that those parallels, I think, are pretty consistent with what we see in American history. That trouble about, we do the thing, we get rid of the Taliban, but then 20 years later, here we are.